Yo, you tuning into the Notion podcast. I'm your host, Dizzy D Spill, here with my co-host in the building,
Jelani Evans.
And you are tuning in to Boss Talk. How you doing, brother?
I'm maintaining, man.
Maintaining?
You know, and yourself?
I'll say maintaining. Sometimes it's kind of like one of those weird graphs, one of those graph charts where it's just the lines just up and down and up and down. Throughout the day, it could go crazy, and then towards the day when it's like slowing down and I got time to decompress and do what I want to do, at least for an hour or two, then I kind of come back to that calm after the storm.
I feel it. I kind of only been doing what I want to do.
I mean, that's the goal, right?
100%.
That's the goal. I mean, everybody has a way to get there, but yeah, it's always the goal to be able to do what you want to do. Sometimes I think that's a underrated goal, but it's also a very overlooked task. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're a full-time entrepreneur or you're trying to make the transition to a full-time entrepreneur. Those two things are, have their own challenges. See what I'm talking about? That right there, bro.
Yeah. It's kind of a late night.
That's not a lazy yawn. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what I've been through. You feel me?
Nah, man, it's rough when you put it like that, because definitely ups and downs and a lot to get to that point. But even in the midst of it, it's like, because being a full-time entrepreneur, you go through rough points, dry spells, inconsistencies with business and whatnot, and being able to continue to operate the way that you would like to and do the things that you would like to do regardless of the circumstances is definitely it's a privilege.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I also feel like your mindset and the level of understanding that you have and being able to adjust to things and take them for what they are and not not take things personally, because you know what I'm saying, in business a lot of things happen, a lot of stuff generates or dissipates without you being in full control all of the time, and understanding that that's just the way certain things are, not taking it personal. And when you take the personal out of it, things seem to hit different. They don't seem to hit as hard. They don't seem to really sway your energy or your mental. And you know what I'm saying? So that allows you to be more balanced. When you're more balanced, it doesn't take you as long to recover, transition, adjust, make things happen, because, this is just what it is. I have to find another way. All right, let me start trying to find another way, instead of taking the person like, why is it always happening to me and I can't get nothing? Man, this is taking losses, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's so easy to take things personal on a business level, because no matter the relationship, there's parallel experiences in its own way. You know what I mean? So business relationship, to a certain degree, there's trust there, or trust is required. I shouldn't say it's present, but it's required, right? Friendships and relationships, trust is kind of a factor. Consistency in business, in order to make things go smoothly, consistency in personal relationships. So I think it's so easy to fall into that, taking it personal, because of how the familiarity of the actions. And so I think when we have scenarios where people say take a step back, that's where you're able to identify that, wow, these are actually the total opposite.
I mean, not even just that though. I mean, that's very true, but also you got to take into consideration that a lot of entrepreneurs, your business, this is them. I am the business.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you disrespect the business, when the business has issues, when things go left with the business,
you are the brand.
You disrespect me. Things go left with me. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, I get it. I definitely get it, because you are the business, but it's almost like you're not so much you are the business as much as business is what you do.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because you have to have a life outside of that. You have to have emotions and feelings away from that. You can't have everything be intertwined and tangled like that, because then it'll cause conflict to where you do take things personal, and with you taking things personal, you start to get in your own way.
Especially when you're creative, and your creative has been intertwined within your business, because now, well, you're disrespecting my business, which is disrespecting me, which is actually disrespecting my creativity.
That's facts, and there's just so many levels to it. But I mean, it is what it is. Now, don't get me wrong, I do still take offense when certain things happen with the business, as far as in like lack of support or acknowledgement, especially from individuals that I know are aware. Like that kind of hits different. But at the end of the day, like, you gotta think at it as in, I don't really want anybody rocking with, dealing with, supporting, or getting anything from my business, my brand, if they don't already feel some type of way about it. Like, I don't want to be in a position where I have to beg, or I feel like people should be rocking that aren't rocking. If you're not rocking, and that means it's just not meant for you, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's what, 304 billion people in the world, something? I forgot if it's an M or a B. I'm pretty sure it's a B.
I think it's like 9 billion people in the world, and then like 300 something million in the country.
I think that's 300. There it is, 300 something. Either way, man, it's a lot of people who haven't seen, who are not aware, who haven't contacted me yet. So I can't be concerned with, you know what I'm saying, the locals. Yeah.
Well, no, that is facts, bro, because it's real easy again to get pulled into that thought process where it's like, damn, they're not really checking this out. And for me, just in my experience, coming from originally a music background, it was extremely frustrating and sometimes depressing, because what separates you from those that do get the exposure that you want. And it's not a whole lot. And sometimes it's actually disheartening because of the lack of talent that's on the other end, or the lack of consideration or passion that you may have watching it play out like that. But I do think that we do have to remind ourselves, man, there's so many people that don't even know I exist yet. You know what I mean? And when you're dealing with this, I think now, in today's time, right now, what frustrates individuals like us, or people that are even beginning to start, is the unnecessary bullshit that you have to deal with. Okay, fine. Certain people that I thought would support don't want to support. Okay, whatever. All right, yeah, sometimes there's businesses out there that are not conducting businesses on a level like you, even though it seems like they're generating more than you. Fine. But when you have to compete with like something as stupid as an algorithm, when you've already done the groundwork to even get people to look at you and follow you and possibly subscribe, however they're subscribing to, your business or your website or whatever, having to deal with that, and then listening to somebody try to give you direction on how to maneuver through that, and they're telling you what to do, and you don't even have the tools. It's almost like, hey man, how do I build this birdhouse? All right, listen, this is what you're gonna need. I see where you went wrong. I see why yours is falling apart. You're gonna need to get you a screwdriver, and bro, I don't even have a toolbox. Okay, well, you can go ahead and just get this type of toolkit. Well, I need the money for that, right? And that's the part where, it gets frustrating, because they're telling you what tools to use as if everybody starts out with tools.
And man, it's not even just that. It's those tools don't always benefit you the way you think they will.
Well, they're not universal, right? It's a good thing that you mentioned that, because we got a chance to experience going to a summit recently, right?
Yeah.
And when can we talk about our people for a minute?
Sure. Sure.
Foundational black people, American blacks, African American blacks, whatever type of style that you want to identify yourself as being black, we got to get the foundation right. It's okay if other things need a little bit more work down the line, but we have to get the foundation right when we call ourselves putting an event together and putting things together for the better of our community and our business, right? When we look at the or listen to the stats that are being read to us about black businesses and entrepreneurship and healthcare and whatever, it all goes down to the foundation in how we are facilitating things. And when we went to this summit, because I don't want to drag the name of the summit because there's always room for growth. Let me tell you, it only took one workshop to understand what we needed to do after.
Leave.
Exactly. And this was his first go around, my second go around. And I even had family that has volunteered for both years. And they have expressed that they don't know if they want to volunteer that specific event, maybe other events that are going on, but not that one. And we can dive into it. One of the workshops at the summit was how to generate money from being a creative.
Oh, making a living as a creative.
Yeah, making a living as a creative. And I'll say my piece a little bit, and I know you got a earful, and then we can kind of play off of that. But the thing is that creative is a very broad statement. So when you do a workshop and you say that you want to give some advice on how to generate income on being creative, you need to include some kind of format of advice that's going to be general and universal. It's no different than you buying an iPhone or a Samsung and you don't want to pay the iPhone charger price and you don't want to pay the Samsung price. So what do? You go to the number one universal company that makes that stuff for both, right? It's going to be compatible for both. It's just not coming from the originator. And what we were experiencing in the workshop is they decided to hyper focus on music. Now that's great for somebody like me that is into music and that who will always be into music. But if you have a sneaker brand or you have a cooking business or you have a radio show or whatever, that advice is extremely limited if there's any advice for you in the content. So that's what I was witnessing. I did come in a little late, but I wasn't that late. But brother, you were there the whole time. So maybe I missed some stuff.
You didn't miss anything. They missed something. Well, because the word creative applies to a plethora of different disciplines.
Yes, it does.
So music, artists, as far as in painting, sculpture, right? Cooking, sneakers, fashion design, installations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just to name a few. There's more. Writing, journalism, blogging, all of these different aspects of. But I feel like if you're gonna say making it as a creative, you need to address that there are a lot of different disciplines that fall underneath that term, and that there are certain obstacles, hurdles that you will experience regardless of whatever lane that you're in, because being a creative and paving your own way to being an entrepreneur, there are a lot of things that you need to know, understand, and be prepared for. And they had two musicians on the panel who didn't even give applicable information for being a musician. They basically talked about they lightly talked about some of their experiences, but more or less they talked about what they've done as far as accolades, who they work with, who they're working with. And I just don't see how that was beneficial to anybody. I mean, like, they didn't talk about the process or outline anything. They didn't talk about DBAs or trademarking or EIN numbers or business accounts. They didn't talk about anything that a creative who might want to make a way into entrepreneurship to benefit and profit off of their creativity. They didn't give any outline or direction for any of that at all whatsoever. And so I was thinking like, yeah, you might as well change the name to Making It as a Musician, but even changing the name to Making It as a Musician, they didn't give information for a musician to make it.
Right. And they missed a lot of opportunities to explain in a very unique way, because all three of them talked about how they had to move away from what they were doing at one part of music and actually move into a different part. You know what I'm saying? That could have been a great example of how they had to kind of press reset and saying, this is how I did it. And these steps are universal in whatever position you're in. It's almost like the transition from player to coach, from coach to GM, maybe possibly owner.
You know, and that adversity.
Yeah.
Redirection.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Rebranding.
Mm-hmm.
They could have used any of those as examples of ways to, but they didn't. They didn't speak on anything of that nature. So it was frustrating going to expect to receive some type of information that might be useful, beneficial, that could be applied, and to basically leave out of there empty-handed.
Yeah, and it was, for me, it reminded me of every interview I've ever seen on any YouTube show that's popular. You bring in a Diddy, or you bring in a Dame Dash, or you bring in any one of these people, and they'll tell you about how they're in charge and how they're their boss and how they had to hustle and had to grind it out. But they're not really breaking down the details as far as in what steps were taken. And to be honest, it's really easy to do.
Yeah, but a lot nowadays the details are they're disregarded.
And
they're downplayed. They're minimized.
Isn't that weird to you, dog?
Well, yeah, it is to me,
because most of us watching, that's what we're waiting for,
I'm
right?
all about the detail. Well, nobody really wants to go in depth and behind the scenes and talk about how they had to struggle and what they went through and the hurdles that they faced, because now that they're in this position, they want to give off this facade like, I've been hustling, I've been grinding to get here, and I've just been making things happen on a consistent basis. Nobody wants to talk about the downfalls or the backtracking or the back to the drawing board. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really wants to give that ugly truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't know why, because
it's almost like you gotta wait for them to drop a damn book, and then you read about what happened in their book. You know what I'm saying?
And even then, though, it's like they're still gonna leave out certain details and cut certain corners. It just, I don't know. It's wild, because they say it's all in the details, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to the small things, which is basically the details.
Right.
And I feel like in the details, you have a better understanding of what to do, what not to do, or how to make adjustments when you run into certain things, and how to, you know what I'm saying, pivot and things of that nature. Because through the details, I learned A, B, and C, so that I wouldn't have to go through X, Y, and Z thanks to the details. Or I went through A, B, and C that prepared me for X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, but no details, no behind the scenes, no backstory. Just, I was grinding, I made it happen, and here I am.
Well,
I'm the boss.
You said a key word, dog. You said pivot. And that is the highlighted word for when you are trying to be creative. That's one of the most important words in a conversation about being creative, because you run into roadblocks, you run into potholes, speed bumps, and you have to pivot, or in other words, maneuver, right? And for people that are still at the bottom, or for the people that's never even reached their own personal goal, that would have been some vital information to help them. Because even though, and this is weird, sometimes when you're a creative, this will happen. We went to the summit and did not gain anything really as far as in knowledge, but it almost was like a recharge because of certain things that were said, to where we could revisit things that we already knew and say, you know what, I forgot that this or that. That's what I can say if I did have to give some kind of positive information.
I went Friday.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Me and you both went on Saturday, but I went Friday, and I sat in on a workshop, and a lot of the information I was given in that workshop, it was called I think it was Money Mindset or Mind Your Money. something like that. And there was actually a lot of good information in there. All of it wasn't applying to me,
Right.
but there was a couple of things as far as in like questions that were being presented or things that they said that kind of like got the wheels turning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that was helpful because it was like there was some information that I took notes on. There was a couple of things they said as far as in like presenting questions to the audience, like, you know, something to think about. And it kind of got the wheels turning in different ways to execute or be creative and make some things happen. So I did take some things away on the first day. It was just kind of disheartening to be at a summit that was Friday and Saturday, and you have 2 full days of workshops and people speaking, and to not really get too much out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like it was frustrating. It's like, man, I could have stayed at home and built up XP. I think it's double XP weekend.
We finna get it cracking.
But
we did have that conversation there. Like, bro, we could have been on the game right now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or it was on Saturday, I could have been watching college football.
Yeah.
Like, I could have been enjoying my downtime. And so that's the thing about, because like, they say time is money, and I don't really agree with that, but I do say time is valuable. Extremely valuable. Time is the one commodity you can spend and not get back. So it's definitely meant to be invested, and to think you're going to invest time into something that's going to be beneficial to you and it isn't, it feels like a waste. When it feels like a waste, you feel jaded.
My time, and I'll say this for the record, my time is limited currency. And the reason why I said limited is because of what you just said. You can't get it back, right? So every time I throw a quarter of my time, $1 of my time, you know, it's limited. I only have so much of it that I'm giving. Now, what is going to come back to me? And so for the longest time, because I kind of pre-warned you of what, you know, you could possibly deal with from when I went last year, and from what feedback I was getting from people that I know that are involved with it. And the reason why, first of all, the reason why this conversation is happening for those that are listening is because this is a pattern throughout a lot of things that we do as a culture. No matter, anytime it comes to organizing an event or organizing something that's supposed to be beneficial to us as well as the public, second, it's the same thing. It seems like it's a group of people that come up with an idea that really don't include outside ideas from the people that are actually going to be contributing or involved. And then it turns into a mess. And then when it gets out of hand, there was a lack of support. And this is where it gets frustrating for people like me and you, because then we get grouped into that same group of, this is why nothing happens. We don't have the support, we don't have the tools, and we don't. But okay, how are you going to make up for those things with the things that you guys can do, right? Because when we talk about the workshops, there were some things that can be done to where they could have been valuable if that was the case, or those were the circumstances, right?
Well, yeah, 100%. It's just, the words that come to mind are dated and unprepared.
Yes.
It was obviously orchestrated, choreographed, put together by individuals who are higher up in age, and because of that, they are looking at things a certain way, and they're not adjusting to the times.
Yeah.
Right. And so because of that, they are looking to put together workshops and looking to give information that will only apply to a few, even though there's this broad spectrum of creatives, entrepreneurs, business people that will be attending. Right. And then unprepared, because even though, like, for instance, the making it as a creative workshop, the musicians were up there and they were speaking, but they were not prepared. They didn't have speaking points or information to go off of.
Not a slideshow,
like, you know,
nothing.
Like, anything about it was like, I experienced that in a different workshop where it was just like, there wasn't talking points to really give you an understanding of things. Like, it was almost like they were just in there talking about each other and patting each other on the back, but it wasn't really informative as to who they are and their background and why you should even be acknowledging them or giving them your time to listen to what it is they have to say. It's just like, yeah, we done this, and we've been yeah, yes, and then
and that was a missed opportunity too, because they could have talked about how that relationship formed through networking.
100%. And so, but like I said, the money mindset, that specific workshop, it didn't, I don't want to say they didn't have speaking points, but they seemed more prepared with how they delivered the information.
Right.
And then, like, one of the speakers, he's like, yo, everybody get your pens out, write this down. And he started giving off some things and naming some stuff, and each column kind of lined up a certain way and made sense the way that he broke it down. But I didn't see him reading from paper, so that means that it was from up. So at some way, somehow, he had to have some type of preparation beforehand.
Yeah, if that person has done that style of how they do a presentation over and over again, I could definitely see how it's like, all right, I know how I'm going to navigate. Kind of like how I would do forklift training. When I would forklift train somebody and certify them, I have a get down on how I would get that stuff done. You know what I mean?
There's already a certain outline. Yeah. Things are itemized.
And I've done it.
There's certain things that, okay, I need to make sure that I relay this message and get these points across, regardless of anything else, because these are the things that are important. These are the things that make sense. These are the things that I know are going to be valuable for learning what it is I'm trying to get across. And so that makes a lot of sense, and that is something that I felt was missing. And then also, there wasn't a lot of explanation or detail, I should say, for what the workshops were. I stepped into a workshop that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And the thing about it that made it frustrating with that workshop is it had a different title than... There was this workshop that says about getting state contracting, right? Mm-hmm. And then there was another one talking about certifications and what's your next move. Well, the certification was talking about being certified to apply for state contracting. My frustration was, why is this workshop happening twice under different names?
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just like there was some confusion. It just seemed like they were kind of filling slots at some point. Mm-hmm. And so dated, unprepared, unorganized. It was a lot of things that should have been better done. The timing was off. I was there Friday. The speakers ran late, so everybody got out of there later for lunch. So everybody came back later for lunch. Workshops were supposed to start at 2:30. It's 2:45, and the lady who runs registration is just getting back to the table. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, it was. It could have been orchestrated better. Things could have been more on point. You think there would be somebody to say, "Hey, there's 10 minutes left until." You got 5 minutes. You kind of guys need to start wrapping it up. Start taking questions so we can get out here in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
We have a schedule to keep, but it was missing those type of things, and I feel like that's necessary when you know what I'm saying, you have a summit. Being prepared, being organized, having things like kind of mapped out, and having people to keep others on track,
right? So
that things can run as smoothly as possible for everybody involved,
right? And I think another mistake that because I remember. You meant what you just mentioned about like the registration concept, little things like that, and I've had this saying that I've been doing this for a while. I don't know if it's because I'm a parent now, but I get real frustrated, and sometimes when I get frustrated, my first thought is, that's a stupid problem. I say it, my wife hears me say it all the time now. This is a stupid problem. You see what I'm saying? And so just with a lot of the things that you're naming are all stupid problems. Speakers running late, and that's all facilitating issues. Speakers, we need you here by this time. Sometimes what I learned, what I have to do with my own people, unfortunately, is I have to give them the wrong time so they're on time.
Yeah, that happened. But it wasn't so much as them not being on time. It was them going over time speaking.
Right. Which means you're not on time. Right?
Facts.
So you're not on time starting. You're not on time finishing. But let's just say that Okay, yeah, that may happen, but you know why that happens a lot of times? When you're doing a workshop, you're doing some form of teaching, which means you don't have a lesson plan. Because if you have a lesson plan, then that means you have time slots on what you're going to cover and how long you're going to cover them, and then you leave an opening for questions. And usually, you should have a large amount of time for questions, especially if your presentation is good, right? Because people are going, what about this? What about this? And then as you're running down on time, which you should have a clock somewhere to let you know what kind of time, a timekeeper, right? You say, listen, after this, I'll give you guys my information. I'll be out in the lobby or whatever, where we can have more conversations about this separate to the side, or come find me at lunch, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case is. That's how you eliminate the time. As far as registration, that's another stupid problem, right? And that seems to be a trend with a lot of different things, whether you're black, white, or whatever, just because it can get chaotic. And sometimes the venue is running behind and you're not, right? But you know what you do to make up for that stuff? Corporate companies have been doing it for years. You do shifts. You don't tell everybody at registration to go on lunch. You leave a couple people behind and let those people go, and then you swap out, right? These are stupid problems. You see what I'm saying?
I got you.
So, me on a personal level, even though it shouldn't be, but me on a personal level, it's a little embarrassing for me when I refer somebody to go to something, and then it's not even less than half of what it should have been as far as the experience, because. And that's why I was really selective on, that's why I'm always selective on who I refer to do what, because now my name is attached to it. I vouched for it, and it's unfortunate that I got to vouch for something and then give a mild disclaimer. You know what I mean? And then when you take it on a larger scale, this summit is powered by something even bigger that's supposed to be for the culture, for the people. Now that has a stain on the reputation.
Well, and again, dated.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the individuals who run that are older. So then everything isn't operating or being executed as smoothly as it should be. A lot of different facets as far as businesses aren't being acknowledged. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Right. So they're not being given an opportunity. There's things that are being put together without them in mind, so it doesn't benefit them. It's just they need young people. They need fresh blood. They need new ideas. They need somebody to challenge a lot of things going on in there, because it's almost like, well, I've been doing it this way for so long. It's working for me. Why switch it up? Instead of, we've been doing this so long, we're out of date.
I'm glad you brought that up.
The times. We need to become more relevant. The only way to become more relevant is to be on a recent, platform or a recent plane, as far as in information, businesses, creativity, all of those things. You need to be up to date. You need to be aware. You need to be in the know.
I'm glad you brought that up, dog, because I have a question for you. Judging off your experience of actually attending and just being in the environment, seeing the energy, seeing everything from who's running it to guest speakers to the attendees, right? Do you believe, from what you've seen those 2 days, that there's even an opening for people to want to listen to young blood?
Oh, no, nah. Not at all.
Okay, so can you tell me, because I'm going to say my own piece, can you tell me what things transpired that you witnessed that showed you, I don't even think you guys will be open to people that probably are more knowledgeable in modern times than you are to help this be more successful?
Just, there were certain inquiries about certain avenues or individuals, and there was so much pushback from a point of being offended or felt like basically just being rubbed the wrong way. And it's not even, it wasn't personal, but it was taken personal. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so because of that, it's just like, oh, so that's how you operate. That's how, and then on top of that, it's like being in a position that you are and expecting everybody to operate or move a certain way. It's almost like my word is what it is. I'm not really listening to or trying to even hear any type of feedback. This is what it is. This is what I'm saying. This is what needs to be done, regardless of whether it's relevant or, you know what I'm saying, beneficial to a certain extent. So I don't feel like a lot of people are, and then again, like, dated older people feel some type of way. It's like, I've been doing it this long, it's working,
my time should be coming.
I got to this point, this is where I'm at because of doing it this way, so I don't really think, you know, what you're suggesting is gonna work. And it's almost like, but how do you know if you've never tried anything different?
That part, right? So let me tell you why that is so dangerous for that to be the situation. Because I agree with you, and I believe the same. I'm going to do my part in sharing my feedback because that's valuable if you're smart enough to see the value in it. The reason why that's dangerous is because what happens when you have people in charge, whether you're young or old, but specifically older generations, right? When you are in charge of things and you are not listening, that shows lack of wisdom. Even though you should have it, it should be an automatic if you can get this far in age, right? It shows lack of wisdom, but most importantly, you never know who's sitting in the room. It could be a potential investor that just wants to see how everything's going before making an investment. It could be a potential sponsor, which is kind of one and the same as an investor, right? And then it could be somebody that's of influence to go out and spread the word that this is not the wave. But the last one, the last point that I'm going to make about it is the scariest part. Now you might have a person that's so determined to crush you because they're so disappointed in what's supposed to be great that they look at the format, they look at who's around, they look at who's involved, and they say, you know what? I'm going to put something on that's better, and I'm going to deter probably more than 80% of the people that were here to come to my event, and I'm going to make them pay for it because it's going to be worth the money. And one of the things that I'm going to be able to do is the catalyst for making it happen is saying, listen, I went to blah, 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 and this is what I seen happen. This is how I seen the staff being treated. This is how I seen the guests being treated. This is how they are running the timekeeping and this, that, and the third. And these are the people that are behind it. And I made an effort to say something to these individuals, and I wasn't heard. So I decided to put my own event on, and we're going to have blah, 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 blah. And now you've just started a monopoly to where nobody's going to even want to rock with what's going on or rock with the people that are responsible for putting on the event. And it's just a domino effect. Now it turns into a civil war before eventually crushing the other side. Because, and the reason why I say this is because I have that mentality. Me as an individual, I have that mentality, and I've been like that for a long time, where I've wanted, as a kid, I wanted to be involved with this or, run with this crowd. And it's like, well, you don't meet the qualifications. And so then I show up with being more qualified than the people that told me I don't have the qualifications. And now I call the shots. And now this is what it is. Or now all of a sudden they've turned into a creative and they don't want to be involved with what I'm involved with now.
So be on the lookout for the Notion Summit.
And I think the powerful part about what we're talking about is we've already talked about a different summit that happened this year with the Earn Your Leisure, right? So now
a party, bro.
Yeah. So summit party, right? A summit party. So
party at the summit.
Yeah. So now we've discussed one on a higher scale, a very high scale that was ran by people of our hue, and now we've discussed something on a very low scale. And you know what's crazy? Both of them operated the same way. One having more resources than the other one, more publicity. People paid for tickets and VIP and all this stuff, and the results were the same. That's why I opened up with, we got to get our foundation straight. And our foundation should be professionalism, organization, facilitating, and I'm pretty sure you have a list of 1,000 words as well.
Man, I was just thinking specified destination. And what I mean by that is like, at the beginning, you should be able to identify and put into detail exactly where it is you're trying to get people. And
Boom.
in the midst of understanding where you're trying to get people, you can better organize and detail the information, the workshops, what's being provided, who's speaking, and what's going to happen, because we're looking to get people here. And if we're looking to get people here, the only way to get them here is to make sure that they're getting information that will help them on their journey to get to this destination.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the biggest one to me, honestly, because, like, you know, organization is key, 100%. You know what I'm saying? Time management, facilitation is key, 100%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But having a specified destination and doing what's necessary to put the tools in the toolbox, to be able to get the toolbox to the people attending, is really where it's at for me. That's what's really clutch, because everybody should walk away motivated and with information and with certain tools to get them in the game. You know what I'm saying? Or to help them build themselves up a higher platform in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right. For sure. For sure. You want to know one thing that also shocked me is all of the individual, I shouldn't say all of them because I didn't go to everything, but most of the individuals that was either a speaker or a panelist, I guess.
Panelists, yeah.
None of them had anything for people to take with them for personal contact. I didn't see anybody say, here's my QR code, because it's that easy now, right? Here's my QR code with all my information on it. You know, we had people, unfortunately, talking our whole entire lunch.
Bro, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, you go in, right? The workshop started at 9, and it was like 9 to 10:15, and 10:30 to 11:15,
right?
11:30 to 12:30, and then, you know, lunch. And you get to lunch, and you got 3 different speakers, and it was just wild because, like,
it kind of turned into church too.
We're not going. Please, let's not get into that. But it was just like there wasn't any time to decompress, or kind of, if you did get something out of the workshops, there was no time to kind of, like, you know how when you eat and your mind just wanders over, you know what I'm saying?
You're feeding yourself and your mind at the same time,
and you're, you know what I'm saying, you're brainstorming, you're thinking about. There was no time to digest the information. Shit, there's barely time to digest the food, because as soon as everybody started speaking, they was like, yeah, okay, we passing out dessert, but you're gonna have to hurry up because the workshop start in 10 minutes. Like, bruh, like, so it was either eat your food and ignore the speakers, or listen to the speakers, and it's like,
or bring your plate into the workshop and finish in there,
bruh. Like, and what you need to do, plates and forks hitting the plates, bro, and scraping it. It was just, it's like,
I'm not gonna lie, bro. The sound of plates getting hit told me 2 things: either bad table manners or people were starving. And both of them are kind of valid depending on how their experience was throughout the day. But I'll say this: I don't like when any event, I don't care what it's about and what group of people are there, where they take an opportunity for you to relax to bombard you with more information, right? I can understand if you're having an hour and 30-minute lunch and 15 or 20 minutes of it is that at the beginning, while you're waiting on your food, usually
whole hour,
the whole joint. But I'm gonna tell you one of the worst things about that happened. By having somebody talk the whole entire time that the guests are there, you know what they eliminated? The opportunity for people to network with each other.
Oh, because that came at the end of the evening. If
at the time where people have made a decision on whether they want to come back or not.
If you've had the endurance, to last throughout the day, because there was a workshop from 2:30 to 3:30. And then there was a general session for everybody from 3:45 to 3:45 to 4:30 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was I forgot what it's called, but it was basically like an opportunity for people to have drinks and network. And then there was the dinner that followed. So it was like from 5 to 6 was your opportunity to network. Then from like 6 to 7 was dinner, or or 7 to 9. It was something crazy like that. And the crazy thing is, at dinner they did more talking. They gave out awards and whatnot. Like, bro, it was a lot.
That was on Friday night, or?
Yeah, apparently that's what I heard. I didn't stay.
Oh, okay.
I got the rundown of things, and I heard that's what they did at dinner.
Madness.
I'm gonna tell you like this, because due to how lunch was, I decided. No, I made sure I had dinner somewhere else because, the lunch was uninspired, to say the least. I think that's the best word to use. It was uninspired. So, due to the way lunch went and due to how the workshops were going on, I chose to make my exit early on Friday and make sure that I had some food that definitely treated my taste buds, I guess you could say, because lunch was definitely uninspired. So I didn't stick around for dinner. They wasn't going to do that twice to me in one day.
Oh, I told you during lunch I was finna get something to eat after that. So, and I was dead serious. But that was the biggest disappointment at that part. Was like, yo, this was a perfect time to network while there's people. Because some people was like, probably had it in their mind, yo, I'm finna leave at lunch. I'm not even gonna eat. I'm gonna go do this. Or I'm gonna see what they got for lunch. And if I'm not really interested, I'm gonna cut out. And I just think when you have an event, there should always be time for networking. Even if you're going to put that time in between, like breaks between workshops, you always got to allow that time to network. This isn't school. These are adults. But I do agree with you a lot about the catering to so much to the older generation, because you can even tell by the guest speakers. These were people, or are people, that was that dude or that woman 30, 40 years ago. You know, doesn't mean that they don't have a position. They have tons of wisdom. But if you're going to entice people to bridge the gap between younger people and older people, you have to bring successful people into the mix as well that are young.
That's the thing. There was nothing that said they were trying to bridge the gap.
And that's the weird part, because they hinted at that during lunch by having some young people. Yeah, because a statement was made. Yeah, we got young people, and that's part of the reason why they have a hard time today, because we don't have them with us. Okay, there's some truth to that, but I also understand that those young people that were there were a part of a foundation, so even they probably didn't know what they were walking into. You see what I'm saying?
I didn't know what I was walking into.
Yeah, we could have all rode on the same bus, vehicle, whatever. And so, looking at that, again, with our people, that foundation is very, very important. And I just think that when we put things together, when we put events together, we really need to model ourselves after successful people that look like us, that executed that style of events, or unfortunately, people that don't look like us that have executed those style of events. And those events, for the record, you don't plan them in a couple weeks. That's damn near planned throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? Or if you do want to plan it within months, you're every week you're coming with it. You have think tanks, you have task force. You know what I'm saying? You have meetings, and the thing that, and I told you this over the phone, that the importance of a meeting is to help you also determine the health of how everything is going by how many people show up, how often you have the meetings, and how the meetings are how you're executing. And with this event, unfortunately, there was a lot of volunteers that were older, and it's not a knock against older people. Matter of fact, I actually give older people credit for wanting to take time out of their day to volunteer for free. But those people need assistance, whether it's through technology, whether it's having a couple young people assist them in volunteering to help them out, to relieve them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
and they have to be treated, I'm gonna be honest, just as well as your guest speakers.
They volunteering. They can choose not to come back. They can choose to leave on the spot.
Yeah, and tell people not to help.
Bro, I just and then it like yeah, because the way the lack of organization for the registration, they definitely needed some assistance, especially like.
And it was a dated way of registration too.
Everything was on paper, like
yeah.
Going through this,
I seen one lady with a scroll. She just was like, "Yo, let me see." I told her not to write calligraphy.
Writing names down.
Yeah,
like it was wild. It was like no, because we couldn't get like 2 iPads.
One person I think had like a iPad laptop person, and they clearly operated like they were their own entity.
No, that was an Acer, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I was close technically, but not.
That was an Acer.
But yeah, like, yeah, I know this is mainly a boss talk review, but it's necessary. I'm sorry, like, we can't keep chanting this or champion this idea of support black. I'm gonna be real. We need to rebrand that as support consistent black, support successful black, support black that's really trying.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say I wouldn't even say successful, because on the same breath you need to support to be
successful.
100%.
Yeah.
But
I just feel like those are the different pillars of it.
When you are open, right?
Yeah.
When you have an agenda, when you are applying yourself, when you are looking to include others and, you know what I'm saying, operate a certain way, those are the ones that need the support.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who need the help, you know what I'm saying? Because you definitely can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely support those who are putting forth the effort on a consistent basis and looking to make things better for everyone as a whole instead of being an individual.
I would definitely say and encourage support with logic. Be stingy with your support, but support with logic. Don't support with your emotions and with your opinions. It should be logical support. And because if you factor in just logic by itself and nothing else, it's gonna force you to say, all right, okay, this person does this. That's logical. When you start doing it from an emotional standpoint, just like when we were talking about speakers and panels at the summit, it didn't take anybody with any genius intellect to determine that these individuals were all connected in some type of way, which is, it compromises information. It compromises intentions, right? And when you have people that are just great at what they do and they're here to do a job and they're here to make a difference, it doesn't matter who they're connected to, because they're going to get that job done. They're going to get that message across. And that's now, if you do have a whole bunch of people that are connected, then it still needs to be worth it for the people consuming the information. It can't just be worth it just because, well, yeah, man, back in the day, me and the homie, we used to do a podcast, and then before that, we was rapping, and before that, we was trapping. Like, that's not that's not beneficial to the people listening. You know what I'm saying? Unless there's a message on how to direct you here and redirect you over here instead of going through that path or whatever the case is. It's not how you get it done. And so, my message to those, if you're able to figure out that we were talking about you and how you were running your events, I strongly suggest that you listen to the reviews that you get back, the reviews that we're giving, and the written reviews that you're probably going to get from some people. And hopefully you take the constructive criticism, you make the changes, or be prepared to get crushed by somebody that is going to come in and learn from your mistakes and try to capitalize on it and do something better to where you can't even compete. Because at the end of the day, whether we look at it as competition or not, it's always competition to somebody that can come in and do a better job than you. So that's my piece on it.
Notion Summit on the way. I told y'all.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. I'm just playing, but I'm not. Anyways, this your boy Dizzy D Spill. You've been listening to the Notion Podcast special episode, Boss Talk. I am your host, Dizzy D Spill with my co-host as always,
Jelani Evans.
Let me know what you think. Let me know your experiences if you went to any summits lately, or if you might have attended ours and realized it through the details we just gave.
Or if you're trying to collab on this Notion Summit.
Yeah. If you're trying to collab, definitely. We're going to need all of that. Anyways, until next time, peace.